king of the ocean, here to serve. My power is cresting now. Take a little ride. Resilient water. Let me spin you straight! The divine king of the ocean, here to serve. Let me spin you straight! Aye, looks like low tide over there.
Alright, classic hero analysis on Poseidon from Greek mythology. He is an SSR Verdian tank hero who uses multiple utilities to control the battlefield and defend himself. Let's start the analysis. Starting with main skills, Poseidon has one active skill and two passive skills. His auto attack restores 60 attack energy. Active skill Undercurrent is a damage and control skill. The control type is a small AoE stun, good for controlling packed enemies. Undercurrent restores 150 attack energy. First passive skill, Tidal Wall, is his self-defense mechanism, letting him reduce excess damage. If you have fought a last man standing Poseidon in endgame PvE campaign or Bifrost Bridge, you already know how hard it is to kill him when he is at low HP. The lower his current HP, the more excess damage he can reduce. Second passive skill, Bringer of Tides, is his damage and debuff skill. The debuff type is both hit and attack energy denial in his attack range. Even though it is a passive skill, Bringer of Tides restores 120 attack energy. Ultimate skill, Whirlpool of Wrath, is a damage and control skill. The control type is a small AoE stun like Undercurrent. What is great about Whirlpool of Wrath is that it gathers nearby enemies into the area in front of Poseidon, letting him use Undercurrent and Bringer of Tides more effectively by targeting more enemies. This skill also complements other heroes who have small AoE skills such as Bastet, Oberon, Amaterasu, and Sung Wukong. Next is equipment. Poseidon generally needs Aegis Shield or Scarab Badge with Earth Runes to supplement his tank hero role. Personally, I like to equip Thor's Hammer to gamble on the enemies having their attack speed reduced by the artifact. For boss battles, Poseidon should equip Excalibur with Air Runes because he does not deal high damage but would benefit from having lowered cooldown for Undercurrent and Bringer of Tides to damage the boss more while denying its attack and hit energy restoration. Next are Divinity skills. Something interesting about Poseidon is that he and Artio are the only tank heroes that have Spotlight. It is important for Poseidon to keep Spotlight active at all times. 6 nodes. I recommend Embroilment, Black Hole, and Spotlight. If another hero in the team already has Black Hole, pick Primal Totem instead. 7 nodes. I recommend Recovery, Embroilment, and Spotlight. For boss battles, I recommend Embroilment, Colossus, and Spotlight. Next is Iconic Weapon or IW. Poseidon is very cheap to upgrade to IW 600, only requiring 4 Inherited Soul Seals or ISS. He lacks Bahu attack, but has higher Drago HP to supplement his tank hero role. I mentioned that he and Artio are the only tank heroes with Spotlight. However, Poseidon is the only one that has accuracy as a Chimera attribute, which helps his Spotlight bonus despite the loss of potential physical or magical resistance attributes. Because of neither resistance as the Chimera attribute, Poseidon is open to either 8 green or yellow nodes, or a 4-4 mix. I prefer the 4-4 mix to balance out his physical and magical defenses, but I know there are people who choose 8 yellow to increase Poseidon's defense against incoming enemy fighter hero damage. Because he is a tank hero, obviously aim for the same node attributes as mine: HP percent, physical or magical resistance, and critical chance or damage resistance. It may be tempting to roll for an accuracy node to further boost his spotlight, but that is sufficiently covered by his Chimera attribute. Also, his lack of a physical or magical resistance in the Chimera spot makes it more necessary to compensate for it in the node attributes. Next are IW skills. IW 100 to 300 makes him a better tank hero, giving him some self-healing every time he gets hit. This is why endgame enemy Poseidon are so hard to kill. IW 400 and 500 makes Whirlpool of Wrath better with debuffs, useful for fighting a shield-heavy team with heroes such as Nagakanya, Hestia, or anyone with the Animus skill. IW 600 is pretty good. It adds a second control stun, which is important for PvP battles. Next is PvE and boss performance. Poseidon is good for beginning and mid-game PvE campaigns. His ability to group enemies together in Whirlpool of Wrath produces effective AoE damage. For endgame PvE, I personally did not rely on Poseidon for his tank role or grouping ability. I found that he died quicker than other tank heroes. I suspect it was his lack of one of the damage resistances for the Chimera attribute. He did not have an extreme of either resistance like some of my other tank heroes had. For boss battles, I would not recommend Poseidon. The only tank heroes that are good for boss battles are Odin and Typhon. Next is Crusade of Edda performance. Poseidon is a primeval divinity main and has no way of contributing to Jormungandr boss battles. Simply, I do not recommend him for Crusade of Edda. Next is PvP performance. Poseidon has been a PvP meta hero for quite some time now. His most popular use is in the Verdian meta team alongside Bastet. Poseidon's main factors are control stunning a lot with Undercurrent and grouping enemies with Whirlpool of Wrath. Because of the Whirlpool, he has great synergy with his fellow Verdian heroes Bastet, Oberon, Sung Wukong, and Flora, as well as Amaterasu to a lesser extent. All of those heroes have ultimate skills that are amplified when hitting multiple enemies in a small AoE. For test battles, I will show him in the current Verdian meta team and an all SSR team that I created. For my tests, I set a level 120 Mystigon to have all levels of its skills, but not higher to keep the team from being too overpowered. Keep in mind that my teams are more powerful than other players' teams, so other players' PvP results will differ from mine. Let's watch.
Surprise in that world. You shall not fall! Like low tide over there. Pay for that.
Consume all. The Dragon King sends
You shall all fall! Little surprise in our whirlpool for you. Aye, looks like low tide over there. Like low tide over there.
the Dragon King sends rains onto this land.
Next is tier list rating. Poseidon gets a 3 for IW 600. He gets 3.74 points in power for Whirlpool of Wrath, Undercurrent, Bringer of Tides, Divinity Skills Embroilment and Spotlight, Anka 126, and negative points for Bahu 102. He gets 5.5 points in support for Whirlpool of Wrath, Undercurrent, Bringer of Tides, Divinity Skill Recovery, and IW 400 and 500's individual boosts to Whirlpool of Wrath. He gets 2.97 in Survival for Tidal Wall, Divinity Skills Embroilment and Recovery, Drago 132, Gambu 126, and IW 100 to 300's overall boost to Tidal Wall. He gets 5 points in Versatility, 1 in Endgame PvE, 2 in Champions Arena, and 2 in Void Portal. His total is 20.21, placing him in A+ tier. I had mistakenly placed him on the TierMaker after Ninhursag when he should be after Typhon. Let's summarize Poseidon. His strengths are control stuns, synergy with AoE heroes, and low ISS costs for IW 600. His weaknesses are no damage resistance for Chimera attribute and a lack of contribution to boss battles and Crusade of Edda. This concludes Poseidon's analysis. Thanks for listening.